Hey everyone, I'm Tom and welcome to the channel. 2025 was probably the first year that I was able to keep up with the new releases that I was interested in, and it was something that worked out really well for me. One of my new favorite books of the year was a new release, and just a lot of things worked out when I did that. So that is something I'd like to continue as we move into 2026. So I've got my list of some anticipated new releases of 2026, and this, is the whole gambit of different kinds of stories. It definitely is mostly sci-fi fantasy stuff, but there's a few other outliers that have piqued my interest. And I'm just going to go ahead and go through from when their anticipated release date is. And I'm sure there are going to be books that I don't know about that I missed out on when I was making this list that are going to make their way onto this, but we'll see as the year progresses and everything. So right now, these are the 9 that I know that have some kind of tentative release date. We'll see if that happens or not, but we're going to start with March. And March is a packed month with 3 of them coming in that month. The first is The Book of Fallen Leaves, which is coming out on March 17th. And I've just got to be completely honest with you guys. I saw the cover of this book and instantly, before I knew anything about it, was like, I'm going to read that. I knew it was fantasy, that's about it. And I was like, oh, this is going to be it. And then I saw Preacher Reads was talking about this. I think he's reading an arc of it and he was really enjoying it. So it just was even more fuel on the fire. And then I, heard a couple other people talking about it, and it sounds like it's a somewhat Shogun inspired, medieval Japanese kind of setting. It's going to be big on like family and feuding and revenge and all of that kind of stuff. And it just sounds like a setting I'm going to really enjoy. I did not read Shogun yet. I did watch the miniseries that happened, and I really enjoyed it. So if it's in that same kind of tone, that same kind of vibe of the feudalistic Japan, just like going at it and throwing some magic, I think it's going to be an absolutely amazing book. And like I said, this cover is just next level for me. It is something that like I would love to just like put on the shelf somewhere because I think it works really well. Next up is The Fires of December, which Sanderson, I think. I might be getting this wrong. I originally thought this was coming out in March, but it looks like maybe the Kickstarter for this is starting in March. So I'm just going to use March as the date. He did say it is going to be coming in 2026. And I know after Winds of Winter, after Wind and Truth, a lot of people were maybe a little bit down on the Cosmere. And while I have yet to read Isles of the Emberdark, I'm still very much invested in the Cosmere. I'm still very much excited for it. And the little snippets I heard of this is that it kind of blends in and uses some stuff from Mistborn, even though it's not a Mistborn book. It might be somewhat tangentially related as far as the magic system goes, and that there's rivers of demon blood or something. And once again, another beautiful cover. This is it's keeping the same secret project kind of vibe, but doing it in a completely different way, which is something that I really appreciate. And I think at this point, until Sanderson has some real bombs for me, I'm going to be still reading the Cosmere, still being invested in it, and all of that fun stuff. So I will be looking forward to that. And then the last book that is slated to come out in March, and this is March 31st, and this is by Chance Dillon, and it is Ill of Fate. This is book 2 of his Mercy series. I read the first one earlier this year. I don't know if you can see it, but I have one of the special editions back here behind my head. Obviously, I'm friends with Chance, so bias, all that fun stuff maybe about this, but I am very much excited to read the next installment in the series. It's a great mix of like grimdark, like not holding your hand Malazan-ish, but like this really thought out world with really great characters and just like a story that I'm very invested in after the first one. I know audiobooks are like in the works for it. So part of me is like, am I going to read this physically? Am I going to wait for the audiobooks whenever those start to roll out? And some of that will just depend on when all of that happens. But this is, once again, another one I am very much looking forward to. And 3 for 3 on these covers. Like this is another amazing cover. I think it's going to be a really stark on the shelf. I know I have the naked hardback back there, but the white cover from the first one and this really vibrant red one in the second book, I think works really well. Then we go ahead and move on into April, and the first one is coming on April 14th, and that is The Faith of the Beast. This is the Captives War second book. So I believe the first book was Mercy of Gods or something something very similar to that. And I think this was a series that only like me and Alan from the Library of Alexandria enjoyed. I know a lot of people went into this expecting more of The Expanse. They wanted The Expanse because this is by James S. A. Corey, the same authors, and I think they were met with the hard realization that this is not a follow-up to The Expanse, really in any meaningful way. It very much felt very different, other than it being sci-fi, right? And I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed that the humans are looked down upon in a way that they are so inferior compared to what is happening in the story. And I think it's a look that doesn't really get explored as much as I would like, the really downtrodden humanity where they really are just lesser. And there's this like really powerful other race that is doing all kinds of things. I just really enjoyed that aspect of it. I'm very curious on what is going to happen in the second one. I do agree with a lot of the criticism about the first one was like lack of kind of some character depth and everything, but it was enough for me plot wise to want to continue on and just kind of learn what is going on. I also read there's like a novella that is a part of this world that I really think opens up this whole world to be something that is completely different than what I thought it was going to be upon reading the first book. I really do think that that novella unlocks it. It almost feels like it's a shame that it's a novella, because I feel like a lot of people probably haven't read that, and I honestly can't remember it off the top of my head right now. If I remember, I'll put it up on the screen. And then this might be, I don't know, it's hard to say this, but this could be my most anticipated book of all year, and that is coming out on April 21st, and that is The Caretaker by Marcus Kilwer. Marcus Kilwer wrote one of my favorite books that I read in 2025, We Used to Live Here. It's one of the first books I read very, very early on in January, and just absolutely loved that book. And so pretty much anything he writes at this point, I'm very much excited for. The basic premise of this one is somebody finds a Craigslist ad to be a caretaker, and it kind of goes from there. And once again, I think these are books in particular because they're kind of a psychological thriller kind of thing, where the less I know about it, the better. I kind of want to go in with the basic premise and just let the story be told. And like I said, I had such a great time with the first one that not the first one, these aren't a series, these are standalone, but with his first book, I'm so hyped to get another one from him. If it can follow, it can be 90%, 80% of that first book, or I mean, obviously I would want it to be even better, but like it's going to be an absolutely, home run for me again. And so I'm very much looking forward to that. Then we move on into May, which has another 3 books in it. And the first one is, and this is one that has been getting a lot of buzz here on BookTube, and that is The Last Contract of Isiko. So, I'm not 100% sure how we're supposed to say that, but this is by Fonda Lee. And this was originally supposed to be a 2025 release. I can remember talking about this in my 2025 most anticipated books. But this is really kind of like the old grizzled veteran coming back to do something again. And that is something that has worked for me a lot in the past. I kind of like seeing the character who's been through it, who's seen it all, done it all, and they kind of want to be done, but they get pulled back in. I don't know. That is a trope that works for me, and that really sounds like what this is going to be. And it's also supposed to be a standalone sci-fi opera kind of thing. And there's so many series and everything that like standalones, like I have room for those on my TBR. Next up, this is not a standalone. This is going to be the next Murderbot book. It is supposed to be Platform Decay. This is Martha Wells, and this will be the 8th Murderbot book. And I was pretty lackluster on the 2 most recent ones I read. I thought they were still good, but they just kind of felt aimless, and I don't know. I just kind of had some problems with them. But I'm excited to see if this can be, because this is also a longer book. I think it's about 250 pages, which I think is probably about the right length for a Murderbot book. I've really enjoyed the novellas. The one full length, I think it's Fugitive Telemetry. I didn't enjoy that one as much. So this one kind of like bridging the gap between both of them. I'm hoping it can be the best of both worlds for the story. And, we'll see. I'm sure this series has a lot of momentum behind it because of the Apple TV show going on. And I'm just hopeful that I can get back to just kind of enjoying Murderbot. Because like I said, the 2 most recent ones were fine, but I don't know, it just wasn't all system red to me, which is the first book. And so I'm hopeful. I think Martha Wells is a great author, and we'll see what happens. I think what happened in the end of book 7, or in the 7th novella, and all the things, I think we can kind of maybe get some forward momentum on like the plot of this, because for a lot of the series it's just been very character driven on this bot, right? And so I'm just kind of very curious to see what happens there. And then the last book in May is the Dorians, and this is by Nick Cutter. And this is going to be some kind of horror psychological thriller kind of thing. Basically, it looks like 5 women are being used as test subjects. And that's all I'm going to say, because I don't want to spoil anything or say too much about it. But it looks like it's going to be going back in history for some stuff. It sounds weird, but in a really good way. Nick Cutter has been an author who I have one win, I'll call it, and one not so much. So I read The Troop by him, really enjoyed that one. Then I read The Deep, not so much. And so he has kind of been my go-to horror author for Halloween and stuff. I didn't read anything from him this year, but I'm hoping that this new one can be something that I really enjoy from him. I do enjoy his writing, and obviously The Troop I just had such a good time with. It's a horrific book, but that's what I was looking for. And so I'm hoping that this one can kind of deliver in that same way. And then the last thing I that is apparently coming out in 2026, and I'm hesitant to say that when we don't have like a real release date. But this is going to be from John Gwynne. This is going to be The Wolves of War. And like I said, there's no month listed for this yet. And even when I tried to find information about it, it has been very scarce on the internet. But I did hear this from somewhere that it was coming in 2026. It's supposed to be the first book in a new series. And I really enjoyed the Bloodsworn saga that he wrote. I will say, I think the last book kind of let me down a little bit, but the first two I really enjoyed, and I have heard so much other stuff about John Gwynne and with his Malice and all of those books that I have not read yet, which is definitely something I need to do. I do own them and everything, so I definitely would like to get to them at some point, but obviously a new book is very enticing as well. So those are, all the books that have kind of a definitive release date or some kind of time frame. And I just want to mention a couple of other things that I'm not sure about, that I haven't even heard about, but just some things that I think might be coming out. One of those is going to be a new book in the Last Horizon series by Will White. He kind of puts out a book or two a year in that series, so I would expect something to be coming in 2026 because we got something about midway through 2025. So I'd expect that cadence to continue. Obviously, if we got a Winds of Winter, that would be great. It's not going to happen probably, but who knows, that would be awesome. Evan Winter's new book, I think it's the Lord of Demons. I haven't actually read book 2 yet because I said I would read book 2 when book 3 came out, so I could kind of go back to back. I think I heard originally it was supposed to come out in 2025. Now I'm hearing 2026. I'm seeing it in some places. I saw it on Goodreads. None of that means anything. It's been quite a while though since the Fires of Vengeance came out, so I would like to see the Lord of Demons happen. I don't know if the second book in Strange Eon, so this is Talking Stories book, J.A.J. Minton, I don't know if they plan on book 2 coming out in 2026 or not. I know they just got their Audible, or not, their audio edition is coming out very soon, so I don't know. I think they're doing updates and stuff, so I don't know if 2026 is the actual plan or not. And same thing with Philip Chase in the Adan. I don't know if he's going to call it the Adan's trilogy. So there's the trilogy, there's the book that kind of comes after. I know he's writing a prequel. I don't know if what exactly that's going to be called, if it's going to have a whole new series name. I don't know if that's coming out in 2026 or not. I would like it to, because I have really enjoyed that series, and every book, I think, I just really enjoy them. And I'm just excited to see if anything else comes out of that. So that is my list. Definitely let me know if you think have any, amazing omissions. I know like Red God's not on here because I haven't read any of Red Rising. So if I start to remedy that, that could get put on here. Yeah, like I said, if there's anything else that you think I'm missing, let me know down in the comments below or on the Discord that is linked in the description. But as always, remember, read what you want when you want.